Mm-mm, mm, mm-mm, mm.
All right, what's up, everybody? NBA talk, season wrap up with the breakdown crew. The basketball boys are back. Before we get started, make sure you always check out thebreakdownsports.com and follow us on Twitter at BRKDWN_sports. I got Steven, Kevin, and Daryl with me. Daryl, how you been doing, man? Been a long time
Yeah.
since our NBA After Dark. Happy to be back. Let's go.
Yes, yes. Extremely happy to be back. Got my brothers back. I missed y'all, man. It's been a minute. But the season turned out, in my opinion, to be a success, and I am ready to talk about it. So, yeah. Kev, what you doing over there, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Daryl. Hope y'all are doing good. It's been a long time since the online people heard about me over here on these streets, but I'm doing good. And NBA season was a success. 3, 4 full months of play, no COVID, thankfully, and we got a champion, which was something that we were really worried about not getting. But thankfully, we got it. We got some things right, got some things wrong, and we'll be happy to talk about all of those and much more here tonight. What's up, Steven? How you doing?
You're on mute, man.
Nah, I'm not on mute anymore. I figured it out before you said it this time. Unlike you guys, I did not have a team in the bubble, so I was just out here chilling, enjoying the games, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the draft. My Bulls moved up to the number 4 pick. We moved up to the number 4 pick. Let me just see Charlotte do what they do every year and fuck up their pick. And let me get, if I can get LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, or James Wiseman, we're chilling. I just don't want to see Obi Toppin. I don't want another small forward who's been in school for 4 years.
Yo. This is end of the season talk. All right.
Yes, this is the
end of the stream.
draft is the end of the season.
Rex,
Trying to jump out of order. Trying to jump all out of order. Get already into NBA lottery talk. No one came for the breakdown wrap up talking lottery right off the bat, but you can tell the heat's already here. So
yeah.
All right, let's get into. We're gonna start it off with the Lakers versus Heat NBA Finals. We got two happy members here. One a little upset member, but happy they probably made it there. I'm happy because my Lakers future cast. Daryl's going nuts on Twitter if you haven't seen it already. And Kevin might be a little bit of a sad boy hour, but Kevin, I'm going to kick it off to you first. Let me hear your thoughts. I don't need to wrap up any of the stats, the accolades. Everyone knows that, so I want to hear from you, man.
Yeah, man. I'm happy. Nobody expected Miami to get to the finals. I didn't even expect them to get to the finals. And even the best case, we did 3 streams here previewing the bubble, and I said best case Eastern Conference Finals. They went past that. They took the best team in the league to 6 games, with LeBron and AD, arguably 2 top 5 players in the NBA. And, hard fought 6 games. Bam and Goran were hurt for the most part, but there's no excuses. Miami gave it all they had, and they had chances to win. Duncan Robinson, Jay Crowder weren't consistent throughout the series, and Miami had a chance to win. They couldn't. They lost in 6 for those that don't know. And I have 2 major takeaways from that series. Credit to LeBron and AD. There's talk about, there's always going to be talk about who should have been the Finals MVP. LeBron won it unanimously. AD played great on offense. He played excellent on defense, especially on Jimmy Butler in the last 3-2 games. But they both deserve equal credit. One isn't there without the other. So they both deserve equal credit. And Jimmy Butler solidified himself as a superstar. A two-way superstar in that series. The way, both victories from Miami, Jimmy Butler carried them throughout. Triple doubles, 35-plus point triple doubles. He carried them on both sides of the floor. On offense, doing it all. On defense, defending LeBron or AD every single mission. And he just solidified himself as a superstar. And it's the first year in the Miami experience with Jimmy Butler, and it'll be interesting next 3 years to come. But I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for the future. But future, as Rex said, is Still not something worth talking about. We're talking about the previous season, the season that just ended, and I'm super excited, super happy for my team. Took them 6 games, and it was a great series. It was a great series.
Let's make Daryl keep that energy more pent up. Steven, give me your quick thoughts. Because I see him, he's dying over there. I see him chomping at the bit. So let's
I'm not. I
pump him up
can't,
more.
man. There's no way I could go in on my brothers, man, and we just now getting back, right? Maybe some other time, but there's no way I could go in on Kevin. But Kevin was, he was talking some tough shit for a minute on Twitter. And sometimes I just had to kind of scroll through it. I wasn't going to say anything, but those Heat fans, man, they know what to say. And it's culture for a reason. Remember that. And what I really learned watching the Heat in the finals is that's a deadly team. Now, if y'all remember, I don't know if it was just myself and Kev, but we said that the Heat was the dark horse in the Eastern Conference. We called that. We said the Heat were, and then possibly Toronto, only because everyone was looking at Milwaukee. But watch out for the Heat, Toronto. And the reason we overlooked the Heat really is because Milwaukee just outright looked unstoppable, right? There was no way no one was going to climb up that mountain and defeat that giant. So all in all, what I have to say, two things that I learned about the Heat is that team doesn't need to make any move whatsoever. I hope there's no major move that shakes up that team right now because they are pumped and primed and can win a chip next year easily. What you had, honestly, were just a bunch of rookies. And you got to, Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong, but Spo had a lot of trust in Hero and Robinson to have them start and run the plays. Because that doesn't happen. That does not happen. Rookies are not running plays in Miami. That comes down from Pat Riley. And you know who else did that? Phil Jackson. Right? So you just don't have rookies run the ball. That is a lot of trust involved from Spo down to Pat Riley to have those rookies run. They made rookie mistakes. Duncan didn't close out on a lot of plays. There could have been – I'm not even really thinking about Jimmy because my whole feel is are we talking about Jimmy being a superstar if he wouldn't have that game 3 that he had or game 4 was it, right? And the only reason why he had that game is because AD was in foul trouble. AD was the only one that could stop Jimmy Butler's drive because of the length that he had. So ultimately what you saw was a defensive chess match played on the Heat. And they were just outgassed. You had rookies running the team. You didn't have a fully healthy team, which we could probably have a different story because the whole 3-point offense is ran out of Goran Dragic. It's not ran out of Duncan or Tyler. It's not. It's ran out of Dragic. They just made up those. They just filled those gaps. The pick and pop ran out of Bio, not the other boys. So they made adjustments and they were okay. So all in all, I know I'm giving a lot of shine to Miami, but ultimately, the Lakers' defense, man, is what just murdered people. The closeouts, the length, just the switches. That defense is like a defense I haven't seen since the bad boys of the Pistons. So kudos, man. Shout out to my Lakers. They had a scheme that I had never seen. Vogel is a great coach. One of the greatest probably chess players I've seen on the court. I saw him made adjustments in real time to Spo because Spo is not stupid. So will they repeat? I could easily see this being a repeat next year, unless there are major moves made by the Bucks and the Rockets, and you're already seeing shakeups happening right now, or at least talk. So that's my take on it.
All right. You thought Daryl was about to have some takes. I'm about to have some takes. Jimmy Butler's only a star when he's the only star. You put another star next to him, he's complaining, he's mad, the team falls apart. For sure. Guaranteed. That's how it goes. I've been knowing this since he was in Chicago. Then we saw it in Then we saw it in Minnesota. Then we saw it in Philly. Once somebody else tries to be the star, Jimmy Butler's off it. He is not a fan of that at all. And then let's see if Miami would have did the same thing if sure they were injured in the finals, but guess who was injured every series before that? At least one of the other team's best players. You had Oladipo hurt most of that first series. You had Sabonis out that whole first series. You had Giannis out for the second half of that for their second series. You had Gordon Hayward, who's pretty much a starter. He's got the talent out for the first half of their series against the Celtics. Well, the Heat were fully healthy all three of those series. And then they get injured, and they're like, oh, well, we played good while we were injured. But, like, you went through a bunch of other injured teams. Like, let's relax for a few seconds. And then the Lakers just did what everybody thought the Lakers were going to do. Like what are we surprised about? They had two of the top 5 players in the league, and then they won the championship. Wow. Who would have expected that? Not me, apparently. I don't know. But, I mean, the Lakers still got it like that. LeBron's got, probably a couple of years left, but not that many. So he's making that run at number 2 next year. And then just let the East get a little bit better. Like if the Heat run through all 3 of those teams again when they're fully healthy, then I'll believe it. But I'm not ready to say it's like that right now, especially because Dragic is getting old. Who's running point after that? And then at some point, Bam's gonna be like, "Yo, I'm the guy." And when Bam tries to say he's the guy, there's gonna be problems within that team. It might even happen with Tyler Hero, because he's kind of cocky like that. So if he tries to be like, nah, the ball's going through me, there's going to be guys that have problems with that. Like, sure, it worked when they're rookies now, but when they're trying to get paid and they're trying to get their stats to get their money, there's going to be continuity issues. Like, it's not staying like this forever.
Ooh. Kevin, you want to say anything back to that before I give my final thoughts on the finals?
I mean, it's kind of – I do agree to a certain point. It's not, the unselfishness rather isn't going to be sustainable. Sure, but the thing with first of all, to the injury side, I mean, every champion has luck. It's no secret. Every champion needs luck. It's just – at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, we could go from this year talking about the Lakers, talking about the Heat. We could go back to 2010 or 2000. Every champion needs luck. Every champion gets away with injuries. The Warriors have done it. The Cavaliers have done it. It's no secret. The Raptors did it last year. It's no secret. Injuries are part of the game. It is what it is. I was one of the first people to say if Indiana had Sabonis, Miami doesn't get off that easy, if at all. So it is what it is. But in terms of the young guys, I mean, there's a move. Miami is one of those teams that every time you see, a superstar or a star potentially being traded right now, Oladipo and Chris Paul are like the big names that are in the trade market. Miami's in there. Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Casey Okpala. I've seen him in a couple of potential trades. They could be moved at any point. And also the Heat culture, as Daryl said, the Heat culture isn't a myth. So these guys, when they come in, they buy in. Spo makes them buy in. Dion is one of the most talented, guys that have been in Miami this season. He didn't buy in. He played like 3 games. He was suspended a total of like 20 games, and he won a championship with the Lakers, riding the bench. So they buy into the culture. I'm not really worried about that. Coming into next year, that'll probably be something we talk about at the end of the episode, at the end of the show or whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about like contenders for next year, but there's a lot of contenders. So I do agree that, running it back, you have Milwaukee, whatever they do, Philly, fully healthy, Boston, fully healthy, Indiana, whatever they do. I'm not sure Miami makes it back to the finals next year, but I do think they're in the conversation to have a fair shot at it.
I'll say this one thing. Are we having the story if Miami played the finals fully healthy? Right? So I think that needs to come into consideration as well, because this series could have easily gone 7 games, could have even been a lot closer if Miami was fully healthy. So, yeah, we could talk about how teams weren't healthy. Hayward wasn't healthy even before the bubble. Oladipo, Sabonis weren't healthy even before then, right? So they were already dealing with this and still made it, and we're still in position in the bubble. So it does make sense, but at the same token, Miami wasn't 100%, and they took my team 6 games. So we could be talking about a whole different story, or there could be a whole different narrative if this team played in the finals fully healthy.
Or if they just had Bam or Dragic. Having one or two of them, I think, would have been huge for this team. But just to give my quick thoughts on the finals, I think there's one player that I want to say won them the series, but I think Rondo was huge. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. LeBron was just like, man, just play from 8 years ago again, please, and just be that dominant guy. He was creative. He was getting into the lane and just giving that team the space by drawing the second guy so many times. And he was one guy that I thought would maybe get like 15 minutes a game, but he was running as a point for most of it next to whenever LeBron wasn't bringing it up. So I think he was one of the biggest reasons that changed it. Maybe if Dragic is on him, is that a different story than whoever else was on him? And then one Heat thought is Duncan Robinson. If he just could get a little bit better in D, I think it's going to come in time. But I think that's where one thing he's just going to work on all year is just going there, because he's already an offensive threat. Make yourself a threat on both sides of the court. Use that length that you got and just build up that D. Got a lot of good reps. I think it just comes in time.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just don't want this year, since we're talking about the finals and everything and kind of the end of the entire season, which we'll expand on, in a little bit. I just don't want there to be an asterisk in this thing. Like, there's going to be people are going to say, oh, it's the what are they calling it, Disney Invitational or whatnot, like some of that dumb stuff. Obviously, there being injuries, not everyone going to the bubble. Miami, at the end of the day, they had a chance to win. Game 1, they were up 23-10. Everyone fully healthy, and they blew the lead in enormous proportions, fully healthy. Game 2 with the zone, the Lakers were just missing shots, and they still had a chance to win. And then Game 4, the Lakers had a big fourth quarter. My Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Jay Crowder, they hit their shots. This is a winnable series for Miami, even with all the injuries. And Bam came back, and like the last 2 games, he wasn't that good. I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know if it was confidence playing against length for D. He just didn't look that good. But injuries. I mean, sure, we gotta acknowledge injuries, right? I mean, right, we have to, but it shouldn't be to put an asterisk next to the title. Like, the Lakers deserve this, and they had a great season. As Steven said, they were expected to be here, so they fully deserved this. And Miami had a chance to win, but just couldn't do it.
Let's jump into some other bubble thoughts. Steven, let's hear what you thought about the Nuggets and just some quick tidbits on the other teams from the bubble to wrap it up.
I mean, I don't remember anybody else saying the Nuggets were going to get as far as I said they were going to get. And then guess where they ended up? In the Western Conference Finals. Because their stars are that tough. Like, once you bring back Gary Harris, that starting five is just – that starting five is going to be at another level, because Jokic showed he hits shots from wherever he wants to hit shots from. He wants to step up, pull up, hit a 3 in your face, done. He wants to hit a turnaround that nobody thinks is going to go in, done. Fucking Michael Porter Jr. is nice on offense. He's the guy, like you guys said with Duncan Robinson. Let him become better on defense. That's a star right there. And then Jamal Murray was just putting up crazy numbers. Like, I'm that guy for this team, even when they got Jokic. Like, that starting five is insane. And then you still got Will Barton coming back next year. Like, that's almost the team instead of the Clippers that I'd say the Lakers need to watch out for next year.
Yeah, I would have to agree to a certain extent. I think there's got to be some roster moves. I think you've probably got to put more. You got to invest more in Bol. Maybe get rid of Paul Millsap. Because with Will Barton coming in, Will Barton is the small forward. Paul Millsap is your power forward. But to be honest with you, you could put Bol at center or power forward. And the reason why I say that is because this fool is shooting threes. So he does not have to clog the paint. Now, maybe this is forward thinking, and we're thinking like 2 or 3 years down the line, because you do have Will Barton coming back. That is going to make a complete difference in that entire roster alone just by his return. But this team is still a threat. I did not have that on my 2020 bingo card that Jamal Murray was just going to go the fuck off. He went off, right? I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. I did not see that type of player in him. And he outplayed Spider Mitchell, man. Like, who saw that coming? I mean, they were going at each other's throats. And I honestly feel like, oh, yeah, I bet you did. Yeah. Well, I mean, Spider, isn't he a Connecticut boy? So, I mean,
hey, no, not really. He went to like some fucking private knapsack school in Connecticut. Then he went somewhere in fucking Vermont. That doesn't really count.
Got you. I was just amazed at how well he played under pressure against Spider, and then just go the next level. You got to watch out for him. I think he learned a lot from this bubble. There's two types of people in the bubble, and that's people who operate in noise and people who operate out of noise. And Jamal Murray is the type of person that if you isolate him and just keep him to his thoughts, he will play a perfect game. And a lot of players can't do that. Some players need to be occupied. They need to constantly have people around him, around them. You know, in this case, Jamal Murray played his best basketball and probably one of the most tense, environments, really. And that's, you're given a superstar, a celebrity, if you will, nothing but time to sit in his room and do nothing, right? So some people could thrive off that, in which you see Jamal do, and I hope he can translate this back onto the courts next year when they're not in a bubble. But if he can, then he's going to be a top 5 guard easily. We can say he's that already, but he would cement himself as a top 5 guard if he has the same bubble play outside the bubble next year.
And he's only 23, which is the thing. Like, he's only 23, and he signed a big extension like 2 years ago. And I remember many people saying, like, wait, that's too big of a number for him. And, he just proved this past postseason in the highest stage, in the most pressure stage, that he can shine. And we're not even talking about the fact they came back down 3-1 twice, like against Utah in the first round, and then against the Clippers, which are their own story in and of itself. But, Denver is playing really good, and still Joker is only 25. He's one of the best centers in the league. My thing from Denver, besides Michael Porter Jr., is Jeremy Grant earned himself like a couple of extra $15 million in those last postseason games against the Lakers. He played really well, and he's going to get paid this offseason for sure. But Denver, I did not see this coming for them. They're a threat. They're a threat in the West. They were the 3rd seed, and they made the Western Conference Finals, and they're still young. So they're a threat for sure.
Yeah, I'm 0% shocked when Coach Cal, Kentucky guy, just goes off. Always sees that talent. Just took maybe 2 more seasons and people were expecting, like Kevin. But you put it in a good way to the Clippers. They blew it. Got Doc Rivers canned because of the blowing it, which makes me real happy for my future. Daryl, as the resident Clippers hater, let's hear your thoughts.
Man, so I guess to kind of piggyback on Kevin, they came back 3-1, but I'm thinking that's more of a Clippers letdown and Clippers mishap more than a Denver win. So if you're going to talk about luck on the Eastern side with Miami not playing, fully healthy teams, that series was all the exposure of the Clippers. That series cost Doc his job. That series alone cost Doc his job. And to be honest with you, not to even sidestep, but this is the reason why I can understand why Philly fans are mad. Because right now, the Philly is nothing but the Clippers of the East. Are you going to have that same scheme? And you better hope that Doc doesn't turn into a player's coach, because Simmons and Embiid will run all over him. And it will be the same result in Philly. You'll have a second-round knockout. And so what I had seen was that was more of a Clippers blow-up than a Denver win. And that's why I also said I got to give Jamal Murray another year to play the way he played under pressure in the bubble on the outside. And if he can do that, then he would cement himself to me as a top 5 guard. But that second series, I think that was just more of the Clippers doing Clippers shit. And that's why they're the Clippers and not the Lakers. Clippers are going to always be the stepchild, the redheaded stepchild of LA. Remember that. Clippers don't get love like LA Lakers get love. Bottom line. And so that was just a showing of what Clippers do. Clippers do Clipper shit. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why Doc is going to do Clipper shit in Philly. So that series alone was more Clippers to me. More Clippers making dumb mistakes. We're talking about mental toughness as well, right? Was playoff P anywhere around? What happened to that guy? What happened to Kawhi? You did not see them become mentally tough and close out a game. They needed one game, and they couldn't close out. So that was a Clippers loss versus a Denver win. And they suck, and they'll always suck.
Yep, that's actually completely right from Daryl. It doesn't matter what players the Clippers have; they're always gonna be the team that ends up as a fucking joke in the NBA. You could have the most talent in the league, and then guess what? You're still getting knocked out in the second round. And everybody's still clowning you every time. Plus, now they're out a head coach. They got 2 stars who are, what would you say, in their prime or starting to get past their prime? Because Paul George is going into year 11 and Kawhi is going into year 10. How much more time do they really have left? So they got them, but then also mortgaged their future because they got rid of Shea and he's in Oklahoma City right now. So you got what, maybe 2 more years of these guys, 3 at probably the most, with them being like max talent. And then after that, when they still don't win a championship, then they just got a shitty roster left over of a bunch of leftover players that people didn't really want. All your stars are gone somewhere else because you traded them all away. And you just cemented yourself as a bad team for the next decade at least, even if you have winning seasons the next 2 years.
I'm going past prime, Steven, because of the injuries Kawhi and Paul George both have had. That's got to account for something.
Yeah. I mean, Kawhi's just a fucking machine, so I don't know how much the injuries affect him as much, but Paul George, yeah, I think it's starting to be a wrap for him.
The Clippers are definitely bare there. I think the depth kind of showed there. Harrell is probably their best piece, and it's a shame that he might get underutilized there. Playoff P, nowhere to be seen. And I think it comes down to coaching more than anything else. That team is talented enough to close out one of those 3 games. There's enough talent, enough. Kawhi's done it. P's done it a few times, but nothing maybe too much of note. So that's where the guys are there who done it. They just couldn't pull through. Maybe they're sick of the bubble and wanted to get out of there. But I think that was just, you saw Jamal's ability that much better. And, yeah, let's see what they do. And I don't think it's a good onset for the Clippers. They're at plus, I think they're the second team in Vegas with the shortest odds to win it behind the Lakers. Would not advise putting any money on it. Give it to me, burn it, do it something better than that than putting on the Clippers to win the ship at like plus 400.
Quick question, Rex, because it's got to be a fire sale. Who are you keeping, Montrezl Harrell or JaMychal Green?
Harrell. Let JaMychal. I rather get some assets, but you're gonna get more assets for Harrell. So you might, if you're just doing the fire sale, keep that. But I think Harrell's more of a chemistry leadership guy than JaMychal Green is.
but Jermichael can shoot the three.
I don't know. I like the energy. I just like what Harold brings way more.
I asked that question because I wonder if that's probably going to be an issue down the line, because you have to break up that team. You have to. Too many Chiefs, not enough Indians.
Okay, so Milwaukee, another
PG
team
and
that
Kawhi
choked.
have a.
Oh.
No, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was gonna say that Kawhi and PG have a player option for 2021, 2022. So it's next year or bust, kind of closing in on that. It's next year or bust, and whoever gets that coaching job, it's gonna be the highest pressure, the hottest hot seat in probably NBA history. Whoever gets that job, it's gonna be intense next year. But yeah, go ahead with Milwaukee.
Yeah, the other big choke artist this time in the East. I remember when I came on, I said Giannis has to have that playoff series. He has to prove that the regular season MVP, he's the playoff MVP, and we did not see that Giannis. That's the biggest thing, even who he has around him. He's a two-time MVP now, you got to show us more than that, what he did. He was too easily stopped. When we see the best guys go up against LeBron and other ones like that, they don't get us shut down as easily as Giannis does, or for multiple games in a row. So this is all on him. I think he knows it. He's a guy that's going to keep working to get better, but he just isn't the playoff material yet, and maybe next year's it. But I wouldn't bet on Milwaukee either to win this ship.
Yeah, I'm scared for Milwaukee. Not really scared of Milwaukee as much, because it took teams about a year and a half, almost 2 years to figure it out, but they found the way to kind of limit Giannis. So now it's up to the Bucks to get maybe a little bit better of a supporting cast. Like, yeah, Middleton's good, Lopez is pretty good, but you need another guy who can handle the ball more and take a little bit more of the pressure off Giannis, to like somebody else who can be, because like, I don't know, everybody thinks Chris Middleton's good, but like, what else does he really do besides be a spot up 3-point shooter and a defender? Like, you need somebody who can take the ball up and forces a double on themselves to free up more space for Giannis. Otherwise, Giannis is just going to get keyed in on, and when guys don't hit shots, Milwaukee loses. Like, that's essentially the formula right there. So it's starting to get to that make or break time for the front office. Like, either spend the money, go out and get the guy, or you're going to be the team that everybody likes in the regular season but gets bounced in the conference semis or conference finals every year.
This would be a different story if Giannis was healthy, right? So we do have to acknowledge that, like Steven spoke on earlier in the show. He wasn't healthy. But at the same token, they were just getting outscored on him. They at one point in time, in that series against Miami, they didn't care if Giannis shot or not. They didn't care. And to me, the Bucks team is full of glue guys. You hear that term from Shaq a lot. But if you don't have anything for that glue to stick on, in which this case would be Giannis, then you have a bunch of nobodies on the court running around trying to make something work. Steve hit the nail right on the head when he was like, what else is Chris Middleton besides a spot-up shooter? And we've seen him go off on games, and we're like, okay, maybe this guy is almost ascending to that superstar status. But you can't just be off and on like that, right? Middleton should be your second guy. If Brook is not hitting your threes, or, working the pick and pop and Giannis is out, or if Kyle Korver isn't hitting those threes. So Middleton should be your next play to on the Bucks as your guaranteed second guy. And the fact of the matter was he did not show up. He was not dependable. And if that's what you're going to go by, having Giannis out and only that team win if Giannis wins, then yeah, you kind of either need to break that team up or bring somebody on board who's going to be more dependable on the outside, right? Because what I could see happening in the offseason is Giannis spending another damn year working on his outside shot so he could be more of a threat. You saw his whole form and release change this year because of everything he did last year in the offseason, trying to be more of an open threat on the outside shot so he can operate the pick and pop. And I can see him going back to the well, trying to be better at that. And that will be a problem. So if you can't put another deadly shooter, which Corver back in the day was a deadly shooter. I don't know what's happened to Corver, man. But this guy back in the day was probably one of your top 3 shooters behind Ray Allen, during that time when he was shooting his ass off. So why he isn't that guy, why DiVincenzo is the one taking shots, why Brook is taking shots, and not really a lot of offensive schemes that Budenholzer is doing to set up Corver, I don't know. But whatever system they had in place did not work if Giannis was not playing and healthy. And so, yeah, it's just rinse and repeat with the squad. The biggest fucking letdown in the East Coast, if you ask me. I mean, this is the reason why I don't even think we should be casting our votes for players until after the postseason, until after the playoffs, because you see 2 different players, what happens during the season and what happens in the finals, in the postseason playoffs. So I don't see any good thing happening with this team unless they do a fire sale and get rid of 2 of their star players and maybe get another outside threat.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, it's been the same story. Giannis coasts during the regular season, plays really good. The rest of the team plays really good. And then in the postseason, they face a team that has a coach who's one of the best in the league, can game plan against Giannis, but then also the team has the personnel to game plan against Giannis. Toronto did it last year. Miami did it this year. Like here in the like bubble preview, we were talking about how Miami was a big threat to Milwaukee, but even I was like, yeah, Miami's a great matchup for Milwaukee. They have the personnel to defend Giannis. They'll take them to 7 games, but Milwaukee's gonna win, right? But they didn't. They lost in 5, and the only game they won was with Giannis injured in the first quarter. Like that was the game that Middleton played his ass off, and they went in overtime, and Milwaukee won in overtime. But it's something about that scheme, man. Something about there's teams that, and we were talking about it. I think I said about the Thunder and about Denver, teams that are great in the regular season, but then in the playoffs they're just not built for it. They're not built to win a 7-game series. And Milwaukee's one of those teams. Like during the series, there was, it was a meme basically that Mike Budenholzer just didn't play Giannis big minutes. He just played him like it was a regular season game. He sat at like at the 6-minute mark, came back at the 2-minute mark. He played like 32 minutes per game. You can't do that. And I do agree with Daryl. They gotta make a move. Chris Paul has been the guy that's been rumored about the most going to Milwaukee. Right. But I don't care if it's Chris Paul or Harden or whoever it is. But Harden, just to throw out a name, obviously it's not going to be Harden, but any player, they just have to do something. Like Chris Middleton, no disrespect to Chris Middleton, great player, but he's not the second best player on a championship tean.
But he's getting paid to be it now.
Exactly. And then Bledsoe is also getting paid like $80 million a year, an $80 million contract in total. So it doesn't make sense. They have to make a move. And if Giannis doesn't get like an offensive package, you hear this a lot about talent, like an offensive skill set, like what do you do with the ball or the scheme changes. But if Giannis isn't going to have, to Rex's point, that series for a superstar, then they just need to make a move. And Middleton is the 3rd best player on the championship team. I could see that, but 2nd best player, no. Scheme has to change. They have to make a move. They have to do something, but against Miami, they never stood a chance. Like the games were close, but they never really stood a chance. And, they were the best team in the East, best team in the entire league. And you get embarrassed like that in the 2nd round. Something, whether scheme, whether roster, how it's built, something has to change. And I do agree with Daryl. Biggest disappointment in the East Coast, no doubt.
And the East is pretty much, I wouldn't say wide open, but you got 3 teams have a fighting shot, if not 4, to take it next year. So the East is going to be pretty damn competitive up top. Dallas, Luka, and Porzingis. Is that the potential next team to knock off the Thunder to try to bang with the Lakers in the finals? Because we saw Dallas's potential star power, but we also saw that it's definitely a few seasons too early. So what do we think about the Mavs going forward?
I'm going to throw it out here first and just keep my tinfoil hat on. I think something's wrong with Porzingis, man. I think injuries are going to catch up to this guy. I don't know if he's going to be in the league that much longer, to be honest with you. And that's just me seeing his style of play and his size. I also think that way right now, currently, until you change my mind, something's wrong with Zion. And that's just me putting on my tinfoil hat right now. This team goes far with Luka. This is a solid team that's built to win, but it's built to win with the healthy Porzingis. Luka doesn't run a pick and pop. Porzingis runs the pick and pop, right? Luka controls that whole entire tempo. Now, Dallas will go far, but the thing about Dallas is they need to bring a player in that's going to have a lockdown defense. You don't have lockdown defense in Steph Curry. You don't have lockdown defense in Luka. You don't have lockdown defense in Porzingis. You have one lockdown defender, and I just lost his name, the small guy. I just lost his name that fast.
Finney Smith.
Who's that?
Finney Smith? Dorian Finney-Smith?
No, that's not who I'm thinking of. No, he was injured. He's a starter, and he was injured for a little bit. God, I can't believe I've lost it. But if you're going to have to play defense against, let's say, and score against what the defensive style of the Lakers, come on, man. You're going to have to match that intensity. So right now, the gold standard of defense to win a championship is the Lakers defense. That's the style of defense. You're going to have to be able to close out, and you're going to have to be able to stretch the floor. And you're going to have to be able to control the tempo. If you cannot do that defensively, then you're not going to go far. And Dallas does not have that now. Dallas has a shiny new toy that's been there for a couple of years, and his name is Luka Doncic, right? And he's getting
thinking of Clever.
What's that?
You were
Max
thinking
Kleber?
of Clever. Yep.
Yeah, okay. No. I'm not thinking of him either. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I should have had the name and been prepared.
So we got Daylon Wright, who's a smaller guard. You got Jalen Brunson. You got JJ Barea.
No,
No?
definitely not JJ. Who's your starting five? I should know this. Who's your starting five for Dallas?
Dwight Powell before he got
Dwight
hurt.
Powell. Dwight Powell. That's your defender right there. That's one of your defenders. But what I'm saying is you just have to have a defense that's going to be able to stop these Western teams. And really, they don't have it there just yet. They have a solid coach. They have a solid ISO player and a solid player who can control each aspect of the game in Luka. This guy is an old soul. I mean, he's been playing pro since he was 16. So this is nothing new to him. But they're not there all the way just yet. Not all the way just yet. And so I give them another year. And if Porzingis can play an entire year without being injured, then you have my ear. But right now, man, Dallas should have been number 3. What the hell? Tell me I'm wrong. Fight me on that. Dallas should have been number 3 in the Western Conference. Above Denver. I'm sorry.
Denver should have been number 3. That's why they made the Western Conference Finals.
Dallas should have been number 3 before the playoffs started. Bottom line, that's just how solid that team is. But you got injuries, and they don't have the defense there just yet. So they're not there yet. Give them a year or two, and give me a solid year of the unicorn not being injured, and then I'm sold.
Okay, I'm going to keep mine real short and sweet. Dallas can never win an NBA championship until they get a solid swing guy. playing small forward because Doncic is going to guard a guard, and he's going to play point guard on offense. Porzingis is never going to be anything lower than a power forward just because he's too tall. So until you have a good small forward, Dallas cannot win a championship.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also agree with the fact that Dallas's success is contingent on Porzingis' health. They took 2 games off the Clippers. Whether you want to judge that as in Dallas was great against the Clippers, or judging as we were doing earlier, the Clippers are chokers. Whatever way you want to look at it, Luka beat Kawhi and PG twice without Porzingis. That's really good for a second-year pro in the league who's 21 years old, and he had probably the greatest sophomore season in NBA history. Luka's future is bright. This team's future is bright. I don't see Luka leaving Dallas anytime soon. Mark Cuban loves the guy. They got a great culture down there. Rick Carlisle doesn't look like he's retiring anytime soon. So they got a bright future. They got salary cap. That's along with Denver. That's one of the contending teams in the West. The difference with them and Denver is that Dallas is the better player with Luka, who is arguably top 10 in the league right now, and he's in his second year, and he still has to improve defensively. Off the ball, he can improve. His 3-point shot could still improve in terms of percentages. He's still got a long way to go, and they got salary cap. They can acquire some guys. Porzingis, he's coming off of the ACL injury, so he'll look to be healthy. Their future is really bright, and there's rumors about Giannis and them in 2021. Whether it's Giannis or another star or superstar forward, that team is scary. That team is scary. Whoever you pair with Luka, that's a top 3 team in the West for years to come, for sure.
The person I was thinking of was Hardaway Jr. You need another Hardaway defender on that team. You needed another defender like Hardaway Jr. And I heard, though, I was reading something actually that the Heat could possibly land Giannis.
Oh yeah,
it was
that's been rumored about. Yeah,
that's kind of scary itself there too. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Portland. Kevin, I know you put Portland up there. What were your thoughts on the Blazers?
I mean, Portland just – I don't know if I should be surprised. I think I'm surprised of Portland because of the fact that they were so back in the playoffs. Like, people were talking about New Orleans and Memphis, and Phoenix obviously went undefeated in the bubble. But Portland was never healthy during the season. They lost Collins in the first couple of games. He was one of the guys that I was looking at to have a great season as a sophomore. He got injured at the start. Nurkic was never going to be healthy until February before, the whole COVID thing happened. Whiteside was, okay. Whiteside is okay. And they signed Melo. The bubble run is amazing. Like, people forget, and it's easy to forget, they lost in 5 to the Lakers, but people were talking about them being like the greatest 8 seed of all time. Like, they were really, really good. Dame obviously proved he was one of the best. He's one of the best players in the league. He won the MVP and the regular season play in the bubble. CJ was CJ. Melo showed he deserves another contract. Nurk was really good. Whiteside was really good. Collins was really good before he got hurt. Gary Trent Jr. turned into a top 10 shooter in the bubble. Like, they were really good when they're healthy. Like, that's the thing. When they're healthy, they can be really good. They're still one piece away. There's always been talks about, Dame and CJ. You got to separate them eventually to give them the best chance to win. The fact of the matter is, this year they got to the bubble. They had to face the eventual champions. They took a game away. And then the year before that, they went to the Western Conference Finals. Mind you, they got swept, but they still got there, and they beat Denver in 7 games. So this team healthy is at worst a second round out if they're healthy. But they're still one piece away. But right now they're just, they're one piece away, and they're a threat to any Western Conference contender right now.
Yeah, so this is my thought on Portland. And maybe I'm wrong in thinking this way, but I think if the Grizzlies still had Crowder and Iguodala, they would have won the in playoff series to go to be the number 8 seed. I feel that way. The more I look at it, I'm kind of puzzled as to why Jenkins got rid of Iguodala. Well, I understand Iguodala, but Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is a good player, man, and the guy is very cerebral, and he fit right in with Miami, right? And I think you give him another year, he's going to play even better. But I started to really think about how the Grizzlies would have looked if they would have played Portland with the Iguodala and Crowder. And my honest opinion is if had those guys been on the team, we wouldn't even had Portland in the playoffs in the 8th seed, bottom line. And so Portland, to me, your 3 points are going to always outscore 2-pointers. And when you have a guy who could shoot from the logo, whose nickname is Logo Dame, then the court is spread at all times. There is no such thing as an inside game. I don't care how tall or how small you are on the court. And you saw even Nurkic. The court was so spread out that even Nurkic is shooting threes, in which he made. But honestly, that doesn't win games. You cannot play with the court completely spread out. And you saw that being, if anything, you saw that being exposed when they lost to the Lakers. When they played AD, and AD could either go outside and play outside or come right in on the elbow. So that shit didn't last long at all. You could try to shoot all the threes you want to, but you still got to play D. You still have to make your threes, and you still got to beat us on the inside. And none of that happened. So I've always hated Portland because I feel they're more like pretenders. I feel that Dame, as faithful as he is to the state of Oregon, he needs to go somewhere else fast, really fast. He's completely overlooked. So in my eyes, one thing, if Memphis would have played with Jay and Andre, I don't think Portland would have even went to the fucking playoffs. The second thing is if Dame doesn't get out of Portland, he will not win a chip at all, ever.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of it now because I always kind of lose track of time when we're talking about irrelevant teams. So
that's a Phoenix Suns fake fan hater coming out.
So I really could not care less what Portland does or what Portland doesn't do, because no matter who's on their team, maybe they're just taking a spot away from another team who's trying to get that postseason experience, when Portland, we know, is just going to get knocked out in the second, maybe third round every year. And it's like, oh, cool. Well, thanks for taking away some excitement from another team, because we know you're getting absolutely fucking swept by a top team every year. So it was not that nice to see you, because you just wasted 2 weeks of my time. But yeah, maybe they should all just go to different teams. How about we just disband Portland and get Seattle back in here. Dame can go like all the way on the East Coast. CJ can go to the South. You'd spread the big guys somewhere in the Midwest, and then Seattle's back as a franchise, and the NBA is actually having fun again.
Adam Silver, I hope you took notes.
Yeah.
So let's get in. So that's enough Blazers off-season talk for right now. We're going to go round table real quick here. We're going to give you our worst contract signings from last season and then our best ones from this year. Daryl, started off. Who gave out the worst bag last year?
All right. So tinfoil hat, keep it on with me, guys, but I'm going to stick with my team. I think the worst contract signing was Waiters and fucking J.R. Smith. I think that was so – these guys just won a chip without logging in one single minute in the finals, right? I think this was a pity pick, and this is the reason why. Now, follow me. And I wrote about this. It was alleged that Delonte West slept with Gloria James, LeBron James' mom. Everybody remembers that, right? Something along the lines of where Delonte was just smashing Gloria. That was kind of one of the reasons, if not the major reason, why Brown went to Miami, just to completely leave Cleveland in itself, right? But we can also say that LeBron James was most likely the cause of the end of Delonte's career. And in doing so, Delonte, as we've seen, in these recent stories, this guy would just hit rock bottom, and Cuban had to come and bail him out. Him being, an ex-Maverick, anyways, Cuban bailed him out. But this wasn't the first time we had seen, Delonte, on TMZ or something, man, where he's just cracked out and he just looks like he's hit rock bottom. I believe that J.R. Smith could have hit rock bottom had not LeBron saved him. And this is the reason why. We all know what happened in that 2017 finals, right? Where JR just totally blanked out, and you had that meme that just came out. I mean, this was even on shirts where it's that famous pose of LeBron, like, looking back like, what's going on? And that's what made LeBron leave Cleveland. But what happened with J.R. Smith? He never got back on. And then wound up in July of 2019. Where was this guy for 1 year? Nowhere. He was not going to get picked up. He was not getting signed anywhere. Everybody thought he was high as Deion Waiters, just getting lit the fuck up in the hotel. So not to get too off base here, but what I'm saying is I think the worst pick from a business perspective was the J.R. Smith and Deion Waiters signing. I think they were pity picks. And I think LeBron trying to right his wrongs and me seeing what he did with Delonte's career, if anything at all, right? I'm still wearing my tinfoil hat here. I think he saw the potential in that with Waiters and with J.R. Smith. And he gathered around Pelinka and he said, hey, man, let's get these guys on a signing. Let's just see if we can get them back in and get them motivated, right? Because he was done with Deion. They were done with Deion. He just couldn't get off the herb. That's not culture in Miami. But they were still able to land a job in L.A., both close to LeBron, right? Both with the same attributes as Delonte West. Conspiracy there? Coincidence there? I don't know. So I just feel that the worst signing, in my own perspective, is why the fuck did you pick up JR and Deion if for nothing else just to put them through rehab? That's me. I don't know how wild that sounds.
I like where you went there. Kevin, who was your worst signing?
Well, before I say my worst signings, because they're just tied. It's a 1A, 1B situation. Before I say them, I want to say Rex, I'm sorry. The first signing, and they're both from Philly. They're the biggest signings they did this past off season. Tobias Harris, 5 years, $180 million, and then Al Horford, 4 years, $109 million. The Al thing is, it's beating a dead horse at this point. We talked about it, $109 million for a guy that didn't need a big, to clog the paint. They ended up bringing him off the bench. It's a dead horse at this point. But Tobias Harris, dude was paid $180 million to be a third option. And then in the first round against Boston, he was relegated to second option because of the Ben Simmons injury, and the dude just disappeared. He had an injury, an accident, game 4 or game 3, which, it's freakish accident. But in the previous, the start of the series, he played like shit. And I like Tobias Harris. I really do. He's one of my favorite players. I really liked him when he was with the Clippers. Should have been an all-star that year, but it is what it is. But dude was paid $180 million and was inconsistent throughout the regular season, and then in the playoffs he just disappeared. Granted, everyone in Philly disappeared except Embiid, but dude was the highest paid player and he disappeared. So I could just summarize that by saying the worst signing was Elton Brand, but since we're talking about players, then it's Tobias Harris and Al Horford both paid over 100 million. Philly, both from Philly. That wasn't on purpose, but those are my worst signings.
So that rolls right into mine. My worst one was obviously Horford. I can see where you're going with Toby, but I think his 5 years is not going to be as steep as the decline as Al's is. That extra money and those 3 remaining years is real rough. Ellen Brand is the best one you probably could have said because he supposedly has great connections with the other GMs. He's very well respected, but he received like 0 votes for GM of the year. Not a shocker. So I don't know. It's not going well up house in there. I think it's just Horford because you're paying a dude that much money to come off a bench and at the end of his career. So that was a terrible move. I think Toby is fine. He just didn't show up, and I think that's just Stevens just purely out scheming Brett and not giving Toby any situations and just making him be a workhorse with no direction rather than having a solid rhythm or anything going in the creative offense. So that's mine. Steven, who's yours?
Well, you guys already went over more than enough. The answer is obviously Al Horford, but since I don't want to be the third guy taking the same player, I don't really like that Sacramento gave Harrison Barnes 4 years for like almost $90 million. Like,
Please?
I was thinking of that too. Yeah.
I'd rather have Bogdanovich there, or Barnes was still pretty much only like their 5th highest scorer. Like, you still got Fox ahead of him, Hield ahead of him, Bagley essentially tied with him, and then Bogdanovich was ahead of him. So I feel like there's other ways that they could have better spent that money. Like, I've never seen Barnes have a year where he was deserving of over $20 million a year. So it's kind of a thing where like a bad franchise just does another bad contract to have somebody that they think could be consistent playing for him. It's like, those aren't the guys you want to give the money to. You need to give them to the guys you think have the potential to be stars, not the guys who could be serviceable NBA players. So I don't know. I just don't see how that helps them at all in the long run, even though the worst contract is clearly Al Horford and is not even that close.
Only reason why I didn't say Philly is because they've been fucking up for the last 5-6 years anyways. I mean,
that's true.
Jesus, you paid Al Horford all that money to come off the bench, and that's what works. So that's all Elton.
Yeah, you can't give Al Horford $110 million for him to have like the 3rd worst season of his career and like the worst one since he was like his 2nd year in the league.
Yep.
But y'all know Elton Brand's a Clipper, right? You know he's a fucking Clipper. That should tell you all you need to know right there. He's a Clipper.
I just think it's more of why Brett's out of the door is just 0 creativity on offense. And everyone out schemed them so easy, no matter what their defense possibly did, which wasn't strong either in the postseason. There was just 0 creativity there, no depth to go along with it or playoff depth. So a lot of guys are still thinking that we have a chance next year, and I think it's going to be a dark year. All right, best contract signings. Daryl, who you got?
This is the obvious, but you've got to go with Hero and Duncan and even Jay. I'm sorry, I don't know what Pat was looking at when he decided to grab Jay and grab that whole package, but I told y'all it would be obvious. But if we're talking about signings, right, we're not talking about just what the potential play would be or what the potential play is or what the play was for the year. We're looking at what their play could potentially be down the line, right? What is our return on investment on these players? And right now, your best ROI is coming out of Miami with Hero and Robinson. And this is the reason why. Even if Miami decides to kind of shake things up a little bit, maybe get rid of Duncan because he's not grasping the defense quick enough, you can sell high, right? You're going to get a ton of money off any player you decide to sell off that team. So How Hero just, I don't know how these guys slipped between the cracks, to be completely honest. I mean, even you look at these guys' shooting forms. Bro, this is not something that you just get right away. To have that smooth of a release, you don't get that in your first year playing ball. Your timing, you don't get this shit at all. It's unbelievable to realize that so many teams pass these kids up. So without a shadow of a doubt, man, we can put numbers and we can add stats and we can look at paper and see what these kids look like on paper. But down the line, in the next few years, these two kids, if they're developed correctly, are going to be your top 5 guards.
Well, I'm going to use your same logic, the return on investment and the value. And I do agree it comes out of Miami, but it's neither of them. It's Jimmy Butler. 4 years, $142 million. First year of his experience in Miami, and they made the finals. Like Jimmy Butler before Miami, some people, as Steven has said, he could still have this thing where he's viewed as a cancer, which is probably a harsher term than what we want to describe, but it's what's thrown around out there. In Chicago it didn't work at the end of the day. In Minnesota it never worked. In Philly there was some disgruntlement with the offense and whatnot, although you could argue it's Philly or Jimmy's fault. But point is, it didn't work. And prior to coming to Miami, it hadn't worked for Jimmy. But there's something about his mentality and his hard work and the way he approaches the game that it's either Jimmy Butler is Heat culture or Heat culture is Jimmy Butler. Like it's something about that combination that's a match made in heaven. And it's a 4-year deal. And Miami, the talk around the street is that they have cap space in 2021. As Daryl said, the rumor is Giannis, but they could play for other stars. As you just said, they could trade Hero, Nunn, or other guys to get a star right now, and then even still have a play in 2021. And what's better, way to convince a star or superstar to come down to South Beach and say, hey, we made the finals without you. And we took 2 games from the best team in the league. Imagine what we could do with you. That's what you're talking about, 2 other stars. So, I mean, in terms of like this season alone, Jimmy's impact on offense, the way he carried them in the postseason, and then during the regular season, his offense wasn't really that good in terms of shooting splits, but his defense was outstanding on the ball, off the ball. He was the difference maker from this team being a second round out and making the finals and taking 2 games from the Lakers. So Butler, and with Jimmy Butler, the future is bright for Miami.
Steven, who do you got?
I mean, you could make the argument Jimmy Butler was the best signing for this year, but until somebody can name me one time where Jimmy Butler signs a big contract and plays out that whole contract with one team, then I might believe it's a good signing. But he just has a tendency to not do that ever. So I don't know. But I think the best signing, like the one that's going to be the best signing for the full contract, is going to be Ricky Rubio on my team. On my team, the Phoenix Suns. This guy opens up the whole floor for the entire team. And you cannot tell me that's not true. You think Cam Johnson and Devin Booker are not going to get better shots off Ricky Rubio's ball handling and passing? Like, you think DeAndre Ayton won't get better one-on-one matchups because of what Ricky Rubio can do with the ball? Like, this team is going to get to probably as close to their full potential as they can get with him running the point the next couple of years. And to be able to get all that on only a $50 million contract over 3 years, which is a lot better than the big money they're giving to all these teams are giving to all these other guys, I think value and what he brings on the court, even if it doesn't show up as points per game, is probably the best signing they could have made.
Woo! That hurt. That one hurt listening to that one, Steven.
I mean,
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah.
Oh, not liking it.
I don't know about that one. Rex,
So-
what's yours? Do you have one?
So yeah, I got potentially 2. Stick with me on this one. Daryl made me change my mind on it a little bit. Quickest ROI, Rondo.
Wow.
Game changer, quickest ROI. 2-year deal. He'll be out of there after it. Not saying that if he wasn't on the team, they still don't win, but he played a key piece in this year coming in right away.
You can make a strong argument.
Long-term ROI, I still got to think it's KD. Just solely landing the Nets, landing KD, and all the potential that could bring in for the long term. See if him and Kyrie can mesh, but landing KD landed you Kyrie, so you got 2 studs. You knew this year was kind of a wash, so let's see what they can do with Steve Nash and the new guys in there. But if I want to think long term, it still has to be probably the second best player in the NBA.
It all depends on how healthy they are. That's the thing. That's the big if. That's the big if.
I personally think Kyrie's a cancer, man. As good as that kid is, he's just a cancer. And you can't come off starting off-season haven't even started, and you're already talking like, hey, we don't really need a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still getting past your whole Earth is flat theory. So I think his outspokenness causes cancer in the locker room, man. And because he's so good, he's one of those players that will get a coach fired if they don't get along. So that it's still an experiment, if you ask me. Any new team that Kyrie is on, that whole shit is an experiment until it works. So the only way I've seen it work right now, and the only time I've seen it work, is with LeBron. They win a ring together. But I don't know.
okay. All right. Hold on. I need to get back to mine for a second because everybody just dismissed that so quick. But this guy had the best year of his career. The team went 8-0 in the last 8 games we saw them in. Everybody else played better when he's on the court. He's becoming a better three-point shooter. He had his best three-point splits of his career. It was the second most points he's averaged a game. He was still averaging 9 assists. He had 5 rebounds. He's doing all that on a $50 million a year contract. Devin Booker doesn't have to be the primary ball handler now. He can do what he does best, and he can just score. And then DeAndre Ayton can sit in the paint, get rebounds, get dunks, get alley-oops off those passes, and then you spread the floor with Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Kelly Oubre, and then you still got Aaron Baines who can just bang down low. And all this stuff is opened up for them more because you have somebody who is an exceptional ball handler, an exceptional passer, an improving scorer who's going to force guys to cover him out to the three-point line, which is just going to make this team exceptionally better because they're only good when they have a true point guard, and that's what he is.
But did they make the playoffs?
They should have made the playoffs.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's a good signing. If you want to say it's a great signing, then go ahead. It's a good signing. But best signing of the past offseason, over Jimmy, over Rondo, over KD, over Kyrie,
yes,
over
for the money, that's the best signing. Because you're not mortgaging your future spending $170 million on a player when you're getting somebody who's not going to kill your team by being a bad guy in the locker room. He's not going to do a bunch of dumb shit trying to be the star. He's doing his job for a reasonable amount of money, and he's letting the stars be the stars.
But
so I'll let Gerald go real quick. But what did he do in the playoffs with the Jazz? Nothing.
Not a goddamn thing.
And they're mortgaging their future.
I'm not talking about him on the Jazz. I'm talking about what he does for this team, not what he did for his last team.
Yeah, but are they going to be in contender, though? That's the thing. The other guys make those teams contenders.
Yes.
Or is Phoenix a contender?
No, they are.
I mean, they're a contender for the A's team.
Sure, they are 100% a playoff team next year.
Okay, but are they
Yeah, but
contenders?
they're
though?
not a 100%
Yeah.
playoff team because of Ricky Rubio. They're a 100% playoff team because they're going to have Aiton and Tsunami Poppy, right? So you take
and how are they getting their shots though? How are they getting their shots? They're not
Devin
creating
Booker getting
shots.
those shots.
They're
Devin
getting their
Booker
shots
getting those
because of the
shots,
guy
dude.
that they just signed.
God damn it! Hell no. Rubio's a dinosaur. This dude's been in the league 12 years, and you're trying to tell me right now
He
he's
just
good?
turned 30.
Yeah,
He literally,
Rubio's great. He
Rubio-
speaks Spanish.
Rubio's good.
Shout out to him.
He's
But like,
the Alex Smith of basketball. He's a good game manager. But your ROI, there's a reason why you paid him $50 fucking million because you're not asking him to do everything. Who you want the money given to is Booker, Tsunami Poppy, or Aiton, who's going to go the hell off when he's healthy.
and now they have the money to do that because they made the best signing of the offseason by not spending a shit ton of money on a guy who's going to get the ball to everybody else.
Okay, question, I'm going to leave it at this. Would Aiton or Tsunami Poppy or Devin Booker go off without Rubio on the squad? The answer is yes. So
they would not be doing it as much because Devin Booker has to become a guy who's doing two things. Devin Booker has to be the guy creating the offense for everybody else, and he also has to be the guy scoring. So that's going to hurt his game, and he's not as adept of a passer, so that hurts Kelly Oubre's game, and that hurts DeAndre Ayton's game. They all become their best players when they have a pass-first point guard as the true point guard, which is what they got. Which is why, for the team, he's the best signing.
Oof.
so what you're essentially saying is Ricky Rubio is the most valuable player of the Phoenix Suns.
That's what he's essentially saying.
Yes.
All right.
He's the guy he's not going to get the credit, but he will be. The team wins the most games when he's playing.
If that Rubio talk was enough that it made Daryl go black screen over here. But let's talk about some balls and the lottery balls. Steven, since your squad was the only one in contention for them, give us your thoughts on it, other than the Knicks being screwed out of a pick again that the media likes to push.
I mean, that's classic Knicks. They're not allowed to win. I don't want them to win, but they're also not allowed to win. I'm not happy that we came in fourth, but I'm happy that the Hornets are ahead of us because the Hornets love to mess up draft picks, which is what I'm praying they do again this year. If
no way LaMelo is falling to four, Steven.
I'm just thinking. The
No
Hornets kind of have guards. Are the Warriors going to take a guard? No. And then who else do they have?
Did you just say they kind of have guards? Because if they kind of have guards, then they don't have guards.
You know, Malik Monk, Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier. Maybe they think they need a small forward more.
Tell me this. I would get rid of Scary Terry in a heartbeat for LaMelo.
Hey, this is me trying to think of a scenario to get LaMelo Ball on my team. All right? Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Malik Monk. Maybe they think that's good enough. Maybe they want a small forward more or a power forward type more. They draft Obi Toppin. The Warriors definitely need a center. They're drafting
Wiseman.
Yeah, they're drafting James Wiseman. And then the Timberwolves want a shooting guard to go with D'Angelo Russell. They take Anthony Edwards. You know who that leaves at 4? LaMelo Ball for the Chicago Bulls. And then you pair him and Kobe White and Zach LaVine as a 3-guard lineup in the backcourt. That's tough. That's what I need to see.
I'm going to leave it at this. That's not happening, Steven. And the reason why is the scenario you just talked about. Scary Terry came to Charlotte to prove himself that he was a better player than just the 6-man from Boston, right? He wanted out of Boston once you brought in that young talent. And he's like, listen, I'm better than Tatum. I'm better than Brown. I'm gonna gamble on myself. And then he goes to Charlotte, and you got Devontae Graham shooting out the building with the threes. So I think LaMelo may just fit in young Borrego's scheme, dude. And I can see Charlotte snagging up LaMelo and trying to sell low on Scary Terry. I could see that scenario.
I'll give Charlotte Otto Porter and the 4 pick right now for the 3 pick.
Oof.
I would do that immediately. Bro, if they would do that, I think that makes the Bulls
just to get LaMelo, Steven?
What?
Just to get LaMelo?
Yeah. Because if there's one thing the Ball family can do, they can pass.
They can pass their ass off. You're right about
what that. The Bulls need is a passer. Kobe White's a good guard. He's not what you would call a true point guard. Him and Zach LaVine both want to shoot the ball. So even if you told me I had to give up Zach LaVine and the 4 pick to get the 3 pick, I would do that to run a LaMelo Ball, Kobe White backcourt with Otto Porter Jr., Markkanen, and Carter Jr.
This is nonsense. This is utter nonsense right now.
What do you mean?
You had me until Zach LaVine for LaMelo Ball.
I know.
That's where you
I was
me.
kind of trying to ride with you, bro. Yeah. This is the second time you did this shit tonight. All right. What's happening?
It's not even that bad. Zach LaVine's torn his ACL multiple times already?
Yeah.
You just paid him? Maybe I'm trying to get off that contract.
What I'm interested to see is like potential trades. Like Golden State, the obvious choice is Wiseman if they even use it. Like they could end up trading it and just go all in for this year. And then just today, I don't know if you guys saw it, there's multiple executives, that's what they throw around with rumors nowadays, believe that the Wolves could end up trading the pick, the number 1 pick for a superstar. Like what do we think about that?
Wolves, classic Wolves.
Classic Wolves. Classic fucking Wolves.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like,
didn't they just go balls out to get D'Angelo or no?
But what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Didn't they go balls out to get D'Angelo?
Yeah, to pair him with Cap, but now they want to trade the number 1 pick for a star to have a big 3 and I guess be a 6 seed and lose in the first round or whatever.
Yeah, Russell went to the Warriors.
And then they traded him to Minnesota for Wiggins. Yeah, for Wiggins.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Winless for Wiggins.
Yeah, like another player or some pick was involved. I don't know.
Yeah, there was another player involved. But I just thought they had all their cards in with D'Lo coming to Minnesota. I mean, that's who Cat wanted there. So I don't know why they would try to – that would be typical Minnesota right there. Just fuck up their number 1 pick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Minnesota, like, whatever they do, they're going to be fun to watch next year with D'Lo and Cat together because I don't think they ever played together this year. When D'Lo came on, Cat was hurt. They're going to be a fun team to watch, whatever they do. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be fun to watch.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they got rid of their best defender with Covington going to Houston. What was that about? So,
all right, preview for the off seasons. Teams we think moves are going to make. I can tell you one already. Austin Rivers will be signed to Philadelphia within a year. Doc's going to get his son there. I already know that's going to happen.
I'm really, really interested to see. I mean, if we're talking about teams, then Philly has to make a move. Milwaukee has to make a move. I'm excited to see where Chris Paul goes because judging by the Billy Donovan firing and how Chris Paul has handled the season ending, it looks like OKC is approaching this as that was a fun year with Chris Paul. We overachieved. Now it's time to go full on retool. So I think Chris Paul gets traded. I don't know. I genuinely don't know where he goes, but that'll be fun to watch. I'm really interested to see what Toronto does because Gasol is a free agent. I don't know if it's official or not, but it was rumored that he was going back to Spain. Yeah. So they probably lost Gasol. They're probably going to lose Ibaka. And then Van Vliet is the other free agent. I'm really, really interested to see where he goes. Like, he's 26.
They're going to pay him.
He's 26. he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid whether it's Toronto or another team overpaying for him. He's gonna get paid. I'm really interested to see what Toronto does with that cap space. They're gonna retool. They have a top 5 coach. They have Kyle Lowry. Siakam's locked in for a long-term extension, so they're gonna retool. They're gonna be in the top 5 in the East next year. But I'm really interested to see what they do on the floor, and then along with the other teams I said, and then Houston, of course. Like they fired the Antony. Westbrook has arguably the worst contract in all of basketball, right next to Horford. Harden is putting up historic numbers on second round outs, and it's like, what do they do now? Like D'Antoni's gone. You have to build a new offensive scheme in however many months. Get a big, probably keep playing without any center. Really, really intrigued with what happens with those teams and players.
Yeah, I would have to piggyback that, Kev. My biggest concern is Houston. You literally have to blow that team up, right? You still don't have a coach. So once you get the coach, then you're going to have to see if the coach can coach Harden or coach a certain scheme that's going to benefit kind of small ball, because you cannot go next year playing small ball. Your tallest player cannot be Covington and PJ Tucker. So the small ball was a bad experiment. We can get over that shit. We're not going to see that any longer. Because you just have too many big guys who can play outside. It's like beating a dead horse when I say this. So you can't have PJ Tucker play AD and think that Houston's going to win that damn game. AD can play him inside and outside if he wants to. So you're going to have to see maybe 1 or even 2 big men come into Houston. And if you're going to get 2 big men, then you are going to lose one of those superstars. One of those superstars had to go. And the experiment failed once they got rid of Capella. That's where everything went wrong. And the reason why is because, for whatever reason, Morey and D'Antoni just felt that Westbrook would get those points that Capella was getting. Capella was coming off his best year at 16.6 points a game. Got the bag at a $90 million extension, right, for 5 years. So that experiment with them thinking that Russ would make up those points now that you open up the court, just proven to be very, very wrong. So you're going to have to break up this team in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what you do with contracts, but if you're going to want to reassemble the team so it's not playing small ball, you need 1 to 2. You can have either one really good big man, maybe like a I don't even know who would fit right on Houston's scheme. Or you need to have 2 decent big men, either one great big man or 2 decent big men. Maybe get DeAndre Jordan over there, right? Who is a true inside big man who plays inside, who scraps up all his points on rebounds and boards and dunks. You know, maybe somebody like that, somebody good like that could play on the inside. Then you've got a squad. But at this point, I just don't know what they do if they cannot get back to, a 2-way big player. It's going to be the same result next year. So that's going to be my biggest questions going into next season.
I guess all I really want to see is what position do the Knicks decide to sign like 5 guys who are all in their 30s who have all been average players at the same position, like they did with their power forwards this year. I mean, that's.
Why do we even talk about the Knicks? I swear to God.
Hey, they have multiple picks in the first round this year. They'll probably draft 2 more small forwards to go with R.J. Barrett and what's his name, Kevin Knox.
Kevin Knox.
And then
OKC has multiple first-round picks. You need to see what OKC does this year. They might have a better roster come when it's all said and done after next season than New York Knicks.
Yep.
And Chris Paul might be on the Knicks as well, because that's where they keep floating his name out to.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to Miami.
Well, that's the one I want to ask Kevin. Does Miami re-sign Dragic? or do you finally let him go?
I would hope so. I would really hope they do. To be a backup, I guess. None was the starter last year. I mean, during the regular season. In the bubble, he played really bad and he got COVID. He got out of the bubble, but he was the starter throughout the entire regular season pre-COVID. So I would expect Dragic to come back on a not veterans minimum, but on a lesser 1 year deal. Maybe bring back Jay Crowder, I guess, or Myers Leonard, or the both of them, and then yeah, or maybe even Hero at point guard. Like, who knows? They have unlimited options. Trade for Oladipo. It's what's being floated around. Oladipo is a free agent, I believe, next year, so they would still have cap space for a potential Giannis run. I would likely think they bring back Dragic, especially with how they treated him during the finals when he got the injury. I would expect him to come back on a 1 to 2 year deal around those lines.
Yeah. You keep Dragic there. You definitely do. You see, the expendable guys right now are Iguodala and Crowder. Even though I like Crowder on that damn team, man, he is the perfect glue guy, and all he needs is a full year in that system, in Spo's system. So you shouldn't get rid of Dragic, but if you're going to have guys scraped, those are going to be the three before anyone else. Maybe Leonard, you get rid of, he didn't do shit. But in the order that you should get rid of them, AI, Crowder, then Dragic.
Yeah. And then Derek Jones Jr. is 23 and he's a free agent, so he'll probably get paid to go elsewhere. Casey Okpala or Gabe Benson are the young guys. They could probably get some minutes next year. It'll be kind of the same team, but there'll be some rotational changes there. But I don't expect much noise from Miami this offseason side. It's getting mainly those three guys.
All right. Any last thoughts? Any signing off thoughts before we wrap up?
Next season is going to be fun. I said that earlier, but I just want to say it again. Like, you have the same contenders this year. The Clippers, whatever happens with Harrell, they're basically going to run it back. Maybe with some changes here and there, but Kawhi and PG are still going to be there. Lakers are not going to do much. They're going to run it back. The Nuggets are going to run it back. The Jazz are going to run it back. The Rockets, whatever they do, they're going to be in the running. And then in the East, Milwaukee's going to run it back. Philly's going to run it back. Miami's going to run it back. Boston is going to run it back, and they're getting better. The Nets are in the conversation with this year, what the players they have, plus a healthy KD, plus a healthy Kyrie, and whatever Steve Nash turns into as a coach. Next year is going to be really, really fun. Really fun.
Yeah, my takeaway really is there is in no way, shape, or form I'm putting an asterisk on this season. No way. Looking back at this season, I would have to say this has probably been the hardest seasons that a player had to mentally go through. Maybe not the physical side, right? And I think we paid a lot of attention to the physical aspect of the game. We looked at these players and said, hey, y'all don't have to travel nowhere. You just get right back to your hotel. You're not worried about time differences and layovers and things like that. You go to your hotel, you get up, you eat, you come into a conference center and you play. Shouldn't be that hard. But I think we really overlooked the mental aspect of the game. And like I said earlier, you had a lot of these guys, man, who had nothing but time to sit in their rooms and do nothing but think and look at all the shit was being said about them, right? And you get a person with nothing but time and alone and nothing but their thoughts. You have some people that cannot hang, dude. And you saw this with playoff Paul George, if you want to call him that. You saw this with different guys talking about goddamn mental illnesses and how, they were going through depression. You saw that Danny Green, his fiance, was getting death threats because he missed that last shot. So in no way, shape, or form will I even put an asterisk on this season. If anything, this season was filled with guys who were more mentally tough than physically tough, right? I think physically dealing with the game was the easy part. but having to deal with mentally with your environments and being in your same surroundings, and these guys being multimillionaire hundreds of times over and being confined to one small space, I think it really did a lot to these guys. And some of these guys could not take it, and other guys were able to weather the storm. And so my final thought with this bubble is this season showed mental grit and toughness, and there's no way we should put anything remotely close to an asterisk on this season.
All right, I got a couple things. I got 5 new teams that are all guaranteed going to make the playoffs next year. You got Phoenix, Memphis, New Orleans in the West, and then you got Chicago and Atlanta in the East that are all going to be new playoff teams next year.
Okay, time out, Steven. So who are they kicking out, bro?
You can get the Magic.
On the West.
The Magic
who's Phoenix
out of here.
Okay.
And then I gotta see.
Okay,
I gotta see who blows it up, because you probably got Miami, Brooklyn, Boston, Toronto, Philly. I think maybe if Indiana gets rid of one of their big men because they only wanted to run one of the big men, they wanted to trade one of the other ones. If they trade one of their big men and they trade Oladipo, they might slide out.
I could see that.
So they're out of here, and then Portland out of here for sure. That's not even close.
Then it gets tough. It gets tough. The West is tough.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Oklahoma City probably out of here, especially if they get rid of Chris Paul. They probably out.
Okay. Yeah.
And then somebody else gets jumped. I'm just blanking on some names right now. But those 5 teams all in there, and then looking at the draft, I know Danny Ainge likes to make trades around the draft. They have 3 first-round picks. Do they trade all 3 first-round picks to Minnesota to go up and get James Wiseman because they have a need at center?
Well, Cantor's your journeyman.
3 first-round picks.
Whatever you trade is going to include Cantor, and that's not a really good deal. Right? I don't know who wants Cantor right now. Cantor will literally play for free at this point. But I don't know what you're going to put in a package deal to get Wiseman that high.
I'm only thinking from Boston's side, but they have so many young pieces. If you can package 1 or 2 of their young pieces, the 3 first-round picks to Minnesota to move all the way up to 1, since people are saying Minnesota might want to get rid of their pick anyway. If you give them 3 first-round picks in this year's draft to help Minnesota get younger and add more depth, and then you maybe trade a couple pieces that Minnesota wants, but obviously like no Brown, no Tatum, no Kemba, probably no Marcus Smart. If you can find a way to finesse that trade, because Danny Ainge is good at absolutely fleecing teams in trades.
Yeah.
If you can do that, because they don't need 3 first-round picks. Like, what are they going to do with 3 more rookies? Honestly,
it's doable if you have another team involved, Stephen. I'll just leave it at that. You got to have 3 teams. That's a 3-team trade there that you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all the details yet, obviously, but something for Boston to do to go up and get James Wiseman. If you pair Wiseman with Brown, Tatum, Walker, and Smart, I would almost have that, because like that was always their thing. Like Boston had 4 good players, and then somebody at center who was undersized and maybe not a liability, but not a strength either. So if you throw Wiseman in there at center, I think that makes them the most dangerous team in the league. Especially because you'll have them cheap too for a while. So that could essentially set up like one of the first homegrown dynasties that we've seen in a while, probably since Golden State before they had Kevin Durant.
All I have to say is if you do that, Steven, you're going to have to bring another team in for a 3-team deal, or you're going to give up your 2021 first round. If that makes sense.
You're muted, Steven.
You're muted, Steven.
How the fuck did I mute myself? I don't. This button
It
fucking
doesn't
sucks.
magically
I barely
do
have
it.
to fucking touch it, and then it's just on mute. But nah, that would. I think if they do that, that could turn Boston into like the most hated team in the league again, like over like the Lakers.
What? Who
'Cause
hates
nobody-
the Lakers?
Everybody hate
LeBron
everybody
haters.
hates the Lakers.
All right, well, that's going to wrap us up for this week. This is the NBA season wrap up from the Breakdown Basketball crew. Make sure you check us out at thebreakdownsports.com or follow us on Twitter at BRKDWN_sports. We got you covered on all the topics. Jordan's got his NFL stuff out there. We got soccer, fantasy football, hockey, whatever you need. We got you covered on all the bases. My name is Rex. You can follow me on Twitter at reast_easy with a Z.
And I am Daryl. You could follow me at ITSDERL. It's Daryl. I always talk a lot of shit on Twitter.
I'm Kevin. You can follow me on Twitter at AnanoKev785. I don't usually post that much, but it's going to be a fun off season, so I'll be active along with the rest of the Breakdown Basketball crew.
Yep, and you can follow me at Steven Carlson97, where I just have, as Daryl likes to say, I got the best football picks right now. If you want to make money, you are taking my football picks right now.
And that's going to wrap us up. We'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your night. See you.
See you.